Hey everybody, welcome to a very belated episode of Biters. This is Diane.
And this is Marnell, and the dead should win.
And I'll say what I said before we signed on, which is let's polish this turd and get it over with.
So on top of a really long, really bad week, mainly for you, that happened.
Yeah.
We have to do this episode.
So I posted on Biters. I had a shite week. I sold my horses, rehomed my goats, lost my job, and had a dog die. So, yeah, life has been really hard over, like, the last 10 days. So,
And then she had to watch Fear the Walking Dead season 5, episode 16.
Going into watching the end of the line, not once, but twice, so I could podcast it, I can honestly say I was not very enthused. My energy is at a low, and this did not help.
Oh, I don't think I hated it quite as bad as everybody did, and I still hope for the future, and I will tell you why a little later.
Well, I'm going to tell you, in the last 30 minutes, I have sunk my rating even lower.
That's funny.
So, my rating...
Mine's probably going to be too high.
Yours is going to be way too high.
It's going to be too high.
Mine is 1.789 sucking chest wounds out of 5.
Oh my goodness!
Absolutely the lowest rating I have ever given anything in the Walking Dead universe. I am longing for the days of season 1 of Fear the Walking Dead.
Yeah. Luckily today is Sunday and we are back to Walking Dead Prime, so that gives us a little hope.
Steve Baldwin encouraged me to go ahead and finish up Preacher because it would be much better for me than watching this episode of Fear again.
I have to agree because I don't even think we've given a Preacher episode a 1.
No, I've never rated a Preacher episode that low.
No. I think we may have rated a Madison episode of Fear the Walking Dead really low.
You may have rated one really low. I can honestly say, until this season, never below a 3 for anything in the Walking Dead universe.
I know I've had a 2 somewhere. But I didn't get below 2 in this episode. I didn't even get below 3. I rated it a very generous 3.5 zombie slip and slides.
By the way, very generous.
I was very generous, and I came up with zombie slip and slides before I watched The Talking Dead.
Which, by the way, the thing about the leashes was hilarious.
Oh, that was... seriously, if I could rate that as my good for this episode... that was the best thing ever, because we all thought Stand By Me when she started talking about, like, what's on my skin.
You completely have my permission to make the leeches your good for this episode.
Oh, I loved... Oh, and to know that they caused it themselves from the zombie stunt guys sliding down the rocks and kicking all the leeches off. And by the way, she said no blood sucking went on, but that's exactly why you couldn't get them off.
Yes.
No matter how small those leeches were, they were sucking your blood.
Yes. Gross.
Yeah.
Ew. That's something I hope never to experience before I die is a leech. I've never been bitten by one. I hope I can continue to say that.
So I don't ever want to encounter one in the wild, but I think it's they use them to treat like copper or something in the blood.
They use them a lot to treat wounds that have a lot of blood like pooled around the wound. Mm-hmm. Or big hematomas, which is basically a fancy way of saying a giant bruise.
Well, and also in healing, right? Because they can actually help you develop the small capillaries or whatever back around.
I don't know. I don't know enough about leechcraft to say yes or no to that.
I just think it's crazy in 2019, we are still using leeches in medical science.
Actually, we've rediscovered the use of leeches in medical science. They weren't used for a long time, and now they actually have some legit implementation. So,
right?
Yeah.
So, leeches aren't all bad, which is more than I can say about the season of Fear the Walking Dead.
We use maggots to breed wounds.
Yes, because they only eat dead tissue.
We use honey to heal wounds.
Mm-hmm.
So let's drop a giant vat of honey on this series, please. Because it's one big sucking chest wound right now.
Oh, so terrible. Ugh. I was super generous, though, because I have hope.
I actually gave it a 2.91 initially, but the more I read about it and the more I thought about it and the more irritated I got, the lower my rating got. I am sorry, Thomas O'Mara. I know you loved it. I know you loved the whole season. God bless you. Maybe we'll have a similar viewing experience next season, I hope.
Well, and we'll talk about what we think is going to happen next season.
You can talk about what you think is going to happen next season. All right, so this is really fast, but our numbers, we did not make the top 25 for the week. It was pretty consistent in the daily numbers. It maintained a 0.4, which is around 400,000 in the 18 to 49 group, and it had 1.51 million views on Sunday. So fairly consistent. I think our lowest was around 1.3?
Yeah. 1.3, 1.4.
The title. Did anyone actually say the title in the episode? I was not attentive enough to catch it twice.
It's the song that Salazar and Grace sing.
It's the Traveling Wilburys song.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Oh,
and of course, the whole metaphor of this is the end of the line for our group. Right. Is this the end of the line for Morgan?
We'll talk about that.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that explains the title. I feel really stupid for not remembering that because they actually did talk about it in Talking Dead now that you say it.
Yeah, the Talking Wilburys?
Traveling Wilburys. Yeah.
Yeah. But that's Chris Hardwick was like, the Talking Wilburys because he kept talking about him.
All right. The writers were, as Steve affectionately calls them, the two knuckleheads. I'm not going to grace this with their names, or I'm not going to say their names on our podcast. And then Michael Satrazemis was the director. Michael, thank you for trying to polish the turd. So yeah, that's all I have on the writers and the director.
Well, and we didn't really have any new characters except for the horse that we lost.
Which was particularly bad timing. Thank you very much.
I know. I felt so bad when I watched this. I thought of you. But at least your horses didn't get taken down and eaten by walkers.
Right. None of my horses were eaten by walkers. They all got amazing homes. I will have the chance to see all three of them again if I want to.
Yes.
Skoogie got very sick right after we moved him, and we think it was probably the move of herd and the change in feed, but he's doing a lot better now, so thank God.
Good.
Yeah. Good. Yeah. Yeah, so sorry, our only real featured cast members were the horses. But we decided since it might be the end of the line for Lenny James to talk about him.
So there really isn't a whole lot to talk about with Lenny James that we haven't talked about previously.
But you know what's really crazy? I actually feel like maybe we haven't talked about him before because I feel like there was stuff that I learned about him that I would have remembered. Like I didn't remember that his mom died when he was 12 and he was put in a foster home.
Foster home.
I felt like that was a giant thing that I would have remembered if we'd talked about him before.
I think it's been so long since we talked about him. Probably when he first came on the episode, because I don't know if we did him for Walking Dead Prime.
I'm sure we did not do him for Walking Dead Prime.
No.
So if we did anything for him, it would be It would have been for Fear. But I don't remember talking about that. I remember talking about him being in Jericho because I had tried to start watching it.
We've had a lot of Jericho alum on the show, so...
But I don't remember talking about the fact that he was in Blade Runner 2049. I don't remember talking about the fact that he was in Snatch, which was a Brad Pitt movie.
Oh, I do remember that. We have talked about Snatch before.
Okay.
Yeah, but I honestly didn't remember Blade Runner 2049 either, because I couldn't picture the person he played.
I will be honest and say I didn't watch it. I loved the original, and some of those things you just don't want to mess up the original. Like, I'm probably not going to watch the new Maleficent movie because I loved the first one so much. I don't want to ruin it in my head.
Yeah, I can see that.
I felt the same way about Blade Runner 2049.
It had Jared Leto in it, so I was going to watch it anyway. Although the entire amount of time he was in it, like, you could have just watched the one trailer that he was in.
Which, by the way, we're missing the review of The Joker on Capes and Lunatics. So if people are interested in hearing what Phil and crew have to say about The Joker, check out Capes and Lunatics. They'll probably have it posted on their podcast feed tomorrow, and I think it's going to be live here really shortly on YouTube.
Oh, I'm so interested in hearing what they have to say about it because it's such a controversial movie.
So a friend of mine who is not a big pop culture guy really loved it.
And that's what I've been hearing. I've been hearing that a lot of people, and it didn't look great or interesting to me. And there's been the whole issue of the theaters not showing it because of the possibility of violence, like there was with
the Batman movie.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's something I'll probably watch eventually, but I'm not going to pay theater prices to go see it.
Which, all right, not to get political. And not to take away from Lenny James, because that's really who we're supposed to be talking about. But I think it's a really sad commentary on our culture that we can't even go watch a movie.
Right.
I mean, come on, guys. It's a movie.
Yep.
Ugh. All right. Back to Lenny James.
So since 2010, he has pretty much been doing a lot of Walking Dead stuff. Of course, he was on Walking Dead Prime and Fear the Walking Dead, but he also does a lot of voiceovers for game characters. Destiny 2,
that actually really surprised me.
It doesn't for me because he's got a great voice.
He does have a fantastic voice.
And he's done a lot in between. He's been on a couple of series, he's done a couple of movies, but the thing that I noticed was he's got nothing pending. So if we are losing Morgan on the show, is Lenny going to take a break? Is he going to go home to England?
Well, but we talked about this a little bit. He has a new series in Britain called Save Me that has gotten really excellent reviews, and it is actually going into its second season.
Okay.
So he's actually working, and I really feel like Lenny James is probably like, thank you, God, for getting me off of this show. Now I can go do the show I really want to do.
So here's the thing, though. I don't know what their shooting schedule is, but Fear the Walking Dead probably won't come back until next June. So he's got had a break from whenever they stopped shooting until whenever they start shooting. So he could be doing Save Me in his TWD off time.
Well, and that's how he did the first season of Save Me.
Right, and it's because it's a British series, it's one of those where there's only 6 episodes for the season. It's not like any of our shows here where it's anywhere from, 12 to 22. So I don't see... That's one of the things that lends me to believe that we are not losing Morgan. But that's just entirely speculation on my part because, he could be taking a break or whatever he's doing next has yet to be announced. There's been a lot of scuttlebutt about him joining in the Rick movies. And while I don't think that that is true, it is entirely possible that they could be keeping that completely under wraps for the time being.
So he would totally have to survive, and he would totally have to jump ahead 6 or 7 years in the future.
So what could happen is CRM shows up, takes out all the zombies that were closing in on him.
Okay, fair.
Saves him from his chest bullet wound.
Fair.
And he is there when Rick gets there. So he joins Rick 6 years from now when Rick gets helicoptered in.
Okay, I'm willing to entertain that as something sick and twisted that Scott Gimple might do just to torture Lenny James that much longer.
Oh, God. We could go anywhere. I mean, for one, Fear the Walking Dead doesn't have any source material, and Walking Dead has gone completely off their source material, so anything could happen. I mean, if aliens landed and saved Lenny James, saved Morgan, I would not be entirely surprised. Or he could ride off on a unicorn. Whatever.
He's going to ride off on a unicorn.
Or all the fans' unicorn is going to come back to save him. The other scuttlebutt is Madison's return.
Okay, that is a total joke that I have seen in several places, and Thomas O'Mara made that joke to me.
Is it, though? I mean, anything could happen. And a lot of people said that that is the way that this series could be saved, is if Madison comes back, saves Morgan. And what does Madison do? She finds people, and all of our group is being separated. She's going to go around and find everybody. And then could you imagine the head-to-head between her and Virginia?
Okay, I'm going to say let it go. Madison's dead.
We never saw a body, though.
Right. Madison is dead.
Oh, I honestly don't know if Kim Dickens would come back at this point, and that's the only reason why I'm like, Madison's gone. Not going to say Madison's dead, because we never saw a body, but Madison's gone.
All right, anything more about Lenny James?
There's really not that much. He's got a beautiful wife and 3 daughters, 2 of which are twins. And his birthday is this coming Friday, October 11th.
Oh, happy birthday. I hope this is your death scene. Not because I don't love you, Lenny James, but because I love you.
Exactly. I want him to move on to greener pastures.
Yes.
Sometimes the end is the beginning.
Yes.
So that's really, there's not much out there. You can go follow him at Real Lenny James on Twitter, but he's only had 2 posts since 2018, so he's not very prolific on Twitter.
So he's not exactly going to clog up your Twitter feed.
Nope.
Well, before we get into Whisperer's Corner, I realized I have an episode of Prodigal Son to watch. I didn't watch the second episode because my life just took a turn for the worse.
I'm kind of loving it.
I forgot about it, quite frankly, because everything's just been so crazy. So I looked at my husband today and I said, oh my God, we have an episode of Prodigal Son. And he said, I'm kind of shocked you're more excited about that than The Walking Dead. Which is not true. I just happen to remember that I haven't watched it.
Yeah. And it is a cruddy Sunday in Alaska, so what better to do?
Have you watched the first 2, then?
I have.
Okay.
I have. I was hooked from the beginning.
Okay, of course you were, because it's totally murdery.
It is. So it's in the same vein as the TV show Hannibal, but season 1 Hannibal. The rest of the seasons of Hannibal went completely off the rails. I never finished. I don't know if I intend to. It's much, much less gory than Hannibal was, so I can watch it with the blinds open. But yeah, I love Tom Payne's character.
Okay, spoiler alert, Tom Payne does chop off somebody's hand.
To save his life, though. I mean, it was a total Herschel moment. It was like...
It was a total Herschel moment.
Yeah, if I'm going to chop off your hand and you're going to live, or I can leave your hand on and you explode.
Spoiler alert.
Well, Well, he certainly was not going to turn into a zombie.
Wrong show.
Although, if he did, Tom Paine would know exactly what to do. Oh, no, but I'm loving it. I really hope it sticks around. Yeah, I hope nothing but good for all of the former and current cast members. But I'm super glad that Lauren Cohan is back.
Which is actually the first thing in the Whisperer's Corner, and probably the biggest news in the Whisperer's Corner this week, is that Lauren Cohan was revealed as a surprise guest at New York Comic Con, and it was announced that she's coming back as a series regular.
And if you have not watched the clip, it's like 2 minutes
pretty funny.
long. It's hilarious.
Yeah.
It's one of those where they pull somebody out of the audience to come up on stage, and the person is dressed as Negan, but they have a hockey mask on. And, of course, Chris is like, wait, we're not going to screen this person? This random stranger is just running up to us. And he's like, oh, yes, sure, I'll hold your bat. And so, you know, the character hands her bat. And he goes on talking, and then all of a sudden she rips her face mask off, and it's Lauren Cohan. So that was pretty cool.
Everybody was pretty excited.
Yeah, it was fun.
So I will say about Lauren Cohan, I hope she gets bank. I hope she gets some real money that she negotiated hard for.
Yes.
The other thing that they announced at New York Comic Con is that Walking Dead has been renewed for season 11.
Wow.
Yeah.
We haven't even seen season 10. I mean, not that I'm expecting bad things. Couldn't be any worse, but
it's going to be a palate cleanser after the last 16 episodes of Fear.
Yeah, if I can get through the last 16 episodes, I can pretty much get through anything.
Right. Except Whiskey Cavalier.
Mm-hmm.
All right. The third series from the Walking Dead franchise, which is as yet unnamed, also premiered a trailer at New York Comic Con, and it looks really good.
It does. So I honestly have to say, in the very first, 45 seconds of the trailer, I was like, this seems so much like a CW series, because it's all...
because of all the youngsters.
Yeah, and they're, just their kind of, the look of them is very...
They're very, very
polished.
Shiny. Yeah.
Yes. Yes. But I cannot believe they already have probably about a 2.5-minute trailer out, and we don't have a name for it yet. That's so weird.
So there were a couple of things in the article that I read that were interesting. So Scott Gimple confirmed that the community that they are in is tied to the helicopter people, and he revealed that the 3 interlocking circles that are the symbols actually represent the 3 communities that make up the larger group.
Oh.
He also revealed that their terminology for the zombies is empties. And we're going to see it sometime in spring of next year, but we don't really know exactly when. It just says spring 2020.
That's right. It does, and I noticed it does take place 10 years into the zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, because they said they wanted to talk about kids who came of age during the zombie apocalypse. Which
I love that angle, because it's one of the old gripes that people have, most notably Kevin Smith, that whenever you see they reboot the Batman series, the Batman movies, they keep retelling the origin story as if we don't know he was bitten by a radioactive spider by now. If somebody doesn't know that, just hand out a pamphlet at the opening of the theater and move on. We're done with origin stories. Let's get into the meat of the rest of the story. So I like that we're not getting another origin story.
Although I do have a little bit to say about backstory when we get into talking about this season of Fear.
Okay.
The only other real piece of news that I had is that Walking Dead is adding a character from the comic book, the character Princess, who is a really funny character in the latter episodes or latter issues of the comic book. She is being played by a woman named Paula Lazaro. I don't know that I said her name properly, her first name. It looks like a Latin version of Paula. And she is known from TV's Lethal Weapon franchise. So I'm sure that we will talk about her as a featured cast member in the future, so I didn't look up anything from her IMDb. But I really like that character. She's a really funny character in the comic book. She's definitely got a few screws loose.
Well, I mean, your name is Princess, so...
Right. It's going to be fun to see how they play it. I hope they play her up the way they played her in the comic books, because she was pretty funny.
I'm sorry for if there are any listeners out there whose names are Princess or have named their children Princess, but you have to know that if you name your child something off the wall, they're gonna turn out with a really good sense of humor.
Okay, weirdest names. I think we've talked about these on the podcast before. Summer Fudge.
I don't think we've talked about this.
Tootsie Roll.
We went to school with a 7-Up.
I met a kid named Tootsie Roll, and I met a kid named Cherry Pie.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
We had a Ben Dover.
That's terrible!
Right?
Oh my God.
He was a great guy, though. He had a good sense of humor.
I think I would change my name.
I would go by Benjamin.
Yeah.
I don't know. I cannot remember if his full name was Benjamin Dover, but yeah.
Wow, that's awful.
I actually, some of my friends who were figuring out baby names for their child that they were going to have, they literally went through and had lists and were like, okay, how can we make fun of this name? You know, like they wanted to name their kid Asher, but if any of the kids have a lisp, the kid's name then becomes Asser. So they were like, Asher's out. So they literally went through and picked apart names of how you could make fun of them or turn them around on the kid. And I cannot remember what they wound up naming their kid. It was something really common like Ryan or something. So
that's pretty funny.
Yeah, they wanted to get creative, but they were like, no, maybe on baby number 2 when we know that how to handle these things.
Well, I have no more news and no more funny names, but I did want to share Eric Kane's take on the season 5 finale of Fear the Walking Dead.
Which was so good, I stole it.
So he said, Fear the Walking Dead season 5 finale review, the dead should win. And he basically said, these are his words, it's a pathetic, anticlimactic, ridiculous conclusion to one of the worst seasons in Walking Dead history. It's just so good. For someone who came to my attention because I hated the way he was talking about nurses, he cracks me up.
Right?
He did a really, really good review.
Yeah, I like his review better than Paul Tassie's. Eric's was funnier.
This was quite literally some of the worst TV I've had the misfortune of watching. Honestly, I find it shocking that the same showrunners will be in charge of season 6. AMC is making a grave error, and the season 5 finale should make that clear as day. This was a season without a story, a feckless, pointless affair with no rhyme or reason or shape or flow. So his true ending, I want to erase this season from existence. I want to hit rewind and record over this bad tape. These past 2 seasons are just Morgan's nightmares, bad fever dreams he's having while he lives in isolation in the dump, still very much on The Walking Dead.
I love that thought.
I do too.
It was all a dream. Nobody shot JR.
So Paul Tassi, I didn't pull up his review that I could share tidbits from it, but the title was, Fear the Walking Dead is better off canceled than to have another season like that.
I agree. I have high hopes for season 6. It can't be much worse than this last season. But yeah, you always hope a show goes out on a high note. You know, you don't want them to have it be a slow grind to the end.
One of the things that I thought was really interesting about Talking Dead, I felt like they really tightly controlled the narrative on Talking Dead. There was not a single bit of conversation about how
the controversy,
how much people dislike the show, how much people dislike the showrunners. I feel like they probably pre-screened the person who came up from the audience to ask a question.
And this one, it wasn't filmed live, was it?
This is the one where they were actually soliciting stuff on Twitter, and the Twitter feed was blown up by people basically saying, the showrunners have ruined the show.
Right, and they didn't have a call-in question. So nobody could mess that one up.
Right. Good point. I didn't even think about that.
Because that's happened before. We've had some kooky stuff in the call-in part. Yeah, I think it was you that messaged me, and you were actually mad at Chris Hardwick for being such a shill.
It was when we talked. Yes, I felt like he was very much a shill.
And, he's kind of got to be, I don't think that they would want him to criticize. For as much as the show is Chris Hardwick's Talking Dead, I don't think that he could get away with bad-mouthing the show at all, or the showrunners, or writers, or directors, or creators, or... Yeah, I think he pretty much just has to be a shill.
I feel like there was a point where talking was more honest, and maybe it's just because I was drinking the Kool-Aid more. I don't know. All right, so... Tell me you have a good.
I do have a good. I still really love Dwight. I loved his interaction with the horse. I don't know why. Like, maybe it was because I was feeling a little bit of what you were feeling about the horses. And when he went up and hugged that horse, like, it was such a genuine moment of relief. One, relief that nobody was on those horses, and two, that it was like somebody else said in one of the interviews, it was like a breath of life being breathed back into the group, and they kind of signaled a bit of hope and things like that. I didn't really understand what that hope meant until he said, there has to be water nearby if the horses have survived. And then him giving up his rings to June and John, and what he said about that.
You want to know what I said?
What?
In my notes, I wrote, horribly unflattering dress and cursed wedding rings.
Oh. See, I think that she looked cute in her dress.
I thought it was very unflattering. I think Jenna Elfman is a lovely woman, and I thought they could have done much better, even from an Old West costume shop.
See, what's funny, and as I looked at that, and I was like, okay, where did they get a medieval times? Because I did not see Old West in that dress. But no, I loved what he had to say, and that if he does find Sherry, that they'll have a new beginning. They can start over, and I kind of really feel that, because we've talked about all along the way. That, all kinds of things could happen if he finds her. And, she could not want to be found, like she says. She could be with somebody else. She could be okay with being found, but still like, too much has happened between us. Let's just call it good. And then what Dwight said on Talking Dead, he's like, I honestly think that I'm going to start catching feelings for somebody, and then bam, I find Sherry. Anything could happen. So for him to give John and June the rings when, they needed it for their wedding as a symbol for them, I thought that was very sweet. So Dwight kind of kept me off the edge this episode. And he has for a while, because he's been a lot of voice of reason ever since his first episode. In his first episode, he wasn't this season, but ever since then, I think he's really kind of been what I wanted Morgan to be.
Okay.
That was my good.
I actually still like Dwight. It wasn't my good, though. My
I like
good.
that he was like ready to leave the group last episode. He was just like, nope, I've been through Negan. Bye.
That was both of our goods last time.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so anyway, what was your good this time?
So my good was the return of Victor to season 1, Victor.
Oh, that was my ugly.
So he is totally currying favor from the powerful, which is totally the Victor that we know and love.
That's Strand.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I was really, really mad when I found out Victor gave him up. And then when he came on, and I think he said it to Alicia, and he's like, we can do more damage from the inside. I was like, oh, there he is. Yeah, I was very happy about that.
Yeah, because, I feel like they've emasculated 2 of the characters that I really thought were great characters, Victor and Salazar, and it's kind of nice to see Victor return to Slimy.
Yeah, yeah. And I thought about you when that happened because I think you had mentioned that at the last episode or the one before that, where you were just mad that they've emasculated Strand.
Yeah.
He's not who he used to be, and we liked who he used to be. So when he did that, I was really mad that he gave him up. But then when he was like, nope, I'm working an angle here, I was very proud.
Very proud. All right. What was your bad?
My bad was really kind of the whole Humbug's Gulch thing. It started off when they were at the fence and they were all like holding the fence, discussing whether or not they were going to do this. And I'm like, okay, either take this conversation someplace else where you're not antagonizing the zombies, or just start poking people in the head while you're talking. Like, one or the other. Don't just stand around and talk. Like, do something. It was driving me insane because that fence was not going to hold. We could all see that. Like, I replaced a fence that was like that, and honestly, if one of my dogs had gotten the slightest wind that if you pushed on a board, it would fall right over. I would have loose dogs a lot, but I just was like, that fence is not going to hold. Like, just start poking people. Even if that's like not going to be your plan anymore, it cannot hurt to kill zombies that are trying to get to you. Like, oh, and then the whole let's lead them to Virginia's convoy and surround them, and then we'll just take what we want and we won't hurt them, and we'll let them know that they shouldn't bug us anymore. I'm like, really? You think that's gonna work? Like, for one, you can't control what the zombies do. Yeah, you can surround them with zombies, but then Virginia's people are just going to be shooting in your direction to kill the zombies. And 2, zombies aren't going to it's not like putting a gun to their head. You're not going to be able to take whatever supplies you need from them and then get away with it. They know where you live. You think they're not coming back? Like,
right.
This is just a terrible plan altogether. So that really, it capped off the whole season of we're doing nothing. We're doing stuff, but it all leads to nothing, and it doesn't work out in the end anyway. So what do we do?
We help people.
Oh, look where that got you. So what was your bad?
All right, it's kind of rehashing everything that I've said, but here we go. The way the showrunners... let me start that again. I'm so disgusted I can't even get the words out. The way that the showrunners handled the entire season. So the Althea bottle episode was probably my favorite, and even that one was pretty flawed. But I think they just pushed everything beyond the bounds of credulity. And I know that we have to suspend our disbelief because we're talking about the zombie apocalypse, yada, yada, yada. But let me just tell you a few things that really stick out as sore thumbs. We're expert rock climbers. We're expert airplane mechanics. We're oil refiners. We are expert horse wranglers. Let me tell you, Dwight bringing up all of those horses, leading them from another horse, it's called ponying. It's not that easy. You have to know what you're doing to be able to do that.
And man, if one horse gets spooked, you're done.
And the San Antonio split. I mean, there are so many things in this season that they just pushed beyond the bounds. And I feel like they really did run some great characters and a potentially great storyline into the ground.
Agreed.
And I will say just another thing about the expert horse wrangler thing. Austin Emilio's seat was terrible. I love Austin Emilio, both as the character Dwight and as the actor. Watching him ride that horse was painful. I am not a great rider by any stretch of the imagination, but look at his posture if you watch this episode again. Terrible. They really should have given him a little more time on horseback before they put him on camera.
Well, maybe that was legit. I mean, not everyone can climb into a saddle and know what they're doing, so...
But yet he managed to pony 6 horses.
Yeah, I can't explain that one. I got nothing.
Anyway, my bad. The showrunners, everything they did to this show this season. They had the goose that laid the golden egg at the end of last season.
Yeah.
And they ruined it. They killed the goose, and they did something with the egg that they shouldn't have done.
Oh, so we've already been through my ugly.
Victor.
So what was your ugly?
So my ugly, of course, was a bad ugly, and it's Morgan's end. I do think Morgan is dead. And I think that Morgan, season 1, episode 1, the original Morgan, deserved so much better than this death, than the writing that he's been forced to act out for the past season.
Yeah.
I just feel like he deserved so much better. I mean, in some ways, in my heart, he is more Walking Dead than Rick Grimes.
Yeah.
So to see Morgan taken out like this, which, by the way, I told Phil Parrish this morning, I'm like, he still was giving speeches even with a hemopneumothorax.
So do you remember how Morgan died in the comic books?
I didn't. I saw that there was an article up comparing it, and I didn't read the article, and it's been so long since I've been in that part of the comic books that I can't remember.
So I don't believe Morgan is dead. I think there is a dumpster somewhere in Humbug's Gulch, and even though it's on fire, Lenny James is going to crawl under it.
That's what Bry says. He says we got Glenn.
Yep.
I agree that the dumpster in Humbug's Gulch is on fire.
But I don't think that he's dead. And even if he is, he did last a lot longer past his expiration date than most.
But they moved him over to this god-awful series and gave him a horrible script for 16 episodes.
They did.
He deserved so much better.
What's funny is I feel at the end of last season that it was almost completely unnecessary to have Lenny James in this season.
Other than the "we help people" speeches, I agree. What did Morgan do all season other than speechify?
Yeah. No. I mean, he's kind of got a love interest now, but then there's that whole... At least the other baby daddy he doesn't have to deal with, whereas on our...
Right. At least it's not the love quadrangle.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, I think something's going to come and save him, or he's going to somehow miraculously save himself, even though he had already lost a lot of blood.
As I said, happy birthday, Lenny James. I hope this is your swan song.
Oh.
And I'm going to seek out that episode, or that series, Save Me. You can watch it if you have a Starz subscription, and you can watch it on YouTube TV. So... I'm going to seek it out.
I actually have a YouTube account, a paid one.
There you go.
I pay for it all, except for BritBox. So yeah, I think that takes us into Rotting Potpourri.
I think it takes us into Rotting Potpourri. And once again, an episode that neither one of us particularly liked, me especially not. We are 43 minutes into it, and we're just getting into Rotting Potpourri.
Yeah, I had 1 page of notes, and actually, like 8 of those notes were direct quotes. So,
all right, the first thing I want to talk about is the title card. So I actually think this was my favorite title card, probably because it had that big, beautiful bay horse standing in the field. But it was a really nice title card.
But again, don't be a child or a horse in the zombie apocalypse.
Although Charlie's doing okay for herself so far.
So
we do
far,
have to put that out there.
And so are the other kids.
Ugh.
But oh man, okay. One, honestly, do you think no matter how seasoned that horse is, do you honestly believe that it would let that many, even if those were humans, not just zombies, just regular human people, do you think it would allow itself to get swarmed and just stand there? I think it'd be kicking or trying to run.
I think that it depends on the rider. I mean, I've taken some horses through some pretty scary manufactured stuff. I think I've said before that I've done some police level despooking with the horses that we had.
Which is a really cool thing.
Yeah,
like they have the horses walk through like flares or fire.
Fire, smoke bombs, various
Loud
different
noises.
obstacle courses, sirens, police dogs. I mean, a lot.
That's
a lot.
cool.
So, if you have a solid relationship with your horse will tolerate a lot. But do I think that a horse that doesn't have a solid relationship with its rider, which it didn't because Dwight just grabbed it up from alongside the MRAP, and he's not a great rider, I think those two things, that horse would have bolted.
Yeah. I honestly think that I was honestly worried for some of the people who were playing the walkers. I don't know if they were legit stunt people or if they were just regular walkers on set.
Oh,
but
I'm sure their insurance demands that if they're working around horses, they have to have some really good insurance and some very experienced people.
I was honestly afraid that one or a couple of them were going to get legitimately kicked by that horse.
Yeah.
Or bit. Like, horses bite, dude. Like, oh, and they really, really bite.
Although that's typically not a fear response. So their fear response is typically going to be kicking or running. The biting is more of a dominance response.
Okay. I was going to say, I had a horse get pissed off and reach back and try and bite me.
Yeah, that's more of a dominance thing.
Okay. I've been bucked off a horse before. It is not fun. Like, horses are giant, like very unstable creatures. And I was like, one, why is Dwight letting himself get surrounded? He's got, 4 legs underneath him that could go pretty fast, pretty far. And 2, I don't think the horse would have legitimately let that. I have to give credit to whoever the horse trainers were, because for that being quote unquote the most temperamental horse of the bunch, that was a really tolerant horse.
Okay, so first I would like to thank everybody that joined us for Black Beauty Review Hour. But the other thing that actually brings up something else about the whole scenario with the horses and with the zombies. They were moving pretty freaking slow. And then when they were just circling the zombies in the field, I was like, this is a total goat rope. And yeah. I actually saw a goat rope this week, so...
What is that like a
cluster?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. No, it was ridiculous.
I was thinking, I was like, wow, herding zombies is much easier than herding cats. Not quite as easy as herding cattle, but definitely easier than herding cats.
Yeah, I for some reason, the whole using the horses to lead the zombies away, and I don't know, it just didn't work for me this time. And we watched Rick do it in his exit episodes. But
I think it's easy to lead them away, but I don't think it's easy to keep them in one area for very long, I mean, yeah, you can keep circling them, but I don't think that they're going to stay that tightly knit little herd that they had without, of course, one of you getting overrun because you stood still too long. So, and then Virginia's on her way. And of course, we're shooting at these zombies now, so she's not hearing the shots. Like there was another gigantic plot hole. I have to give props to Inquisitor for this. So the reason why Humbug Gulch failed for the previous group was because their fishing hole dried up. And then it was like, no, if there's horses nearby, we have water. And, well, we did cross a big river and a bridge to get there. And then didn't we have a zombie slip and slide in a big river very close to Humbug's Gulch? I don't think there's a problem with a water source nearby. Maybe it's a matter of the fishing. I don't know, but you definitely have water nearby Humbug's Gulch.
And the other thing was they ultimately revealed that they discovered that it was because the people of Humbug's Gulch fought back.
Right. But Ginny's initial thing was, their fishing hole dried up, and they were all like, oh no, there's no water nearby. And Inquisitor brought up, they were like, they had all these maps of the areas that I'm sure show the rivers, lakes, and ponds. And plus, they crossed a bridge to get there, and now they have the zombie slip and slide. Like,
and if you notice, at one point, the horses are... that the grass that they're walking through, water is splashing up, so it looks more swampy than grassy.
I didn't notice that.
Yes.
Oh, that's
I was
funny.
like, wow, they're up to essentially grassy water in their knees. Up to their knees. Yeah.
That must have been super fun for the zombie guys to walk through.
Right.
But yeah, that was a big plot hole that was pointed out where I was like, they're right. Like, everyone was like, oh no, there's no water. And like, they're surrounded by water.
Okay, so you mentioned Ginny. I think I finally, figured out one of the things that really bothers me. She talks the way that Eugene talks times 10. I mean, everybody criticizes the way that Eugene talks. Everybody criticizes kind of the goofy lingo that he uses. Mm-hmm. I actually really enjoy Eugene. I do not enjoy Ginny at all. And I think it's because it's like Eugene on steroids.
See, and someone on Talking Dead pointed out, they were like, yeah, she's Alpha's sister because they have the same accent. And
right.
I'm like, they kind of do. Ginny's just more high-pitched and faster.
Well, so the other thing is, I still don't buy that she has all the power that she does. I still don't understand how she has all the power that she does. She said she had 800 plus people that are thriving under her auspices. Mm-hmm. These people are acting like collaborators in Nazi Germany. The way that they treat our survivors and the way they separate our group of survivors at the end. So how does she have so much power over them? Why does she have so much power over them? She's so bizarre. I really need some backstory stat.
You know, and I think I read that we're supposed to get a lot more backstory next season. And it has to do with a little line that she had at the very end when she was standing over Morgan about to shoot him. And she said, I just resent your face so much right now.
Yeah, I felt that way about her.
But they said that's kind of a teaser for we're going to get more of her backstory next season. But I agree.
I need to be convinced that she, A, really has that much power, and B, really deserves, whether through good or bad, to have that much power.
I just don't think that she has the facilities to have that much power. So here's what I mean by that. So one of the problems you have when you take out the main warlord in an area is then you have like 26 smaller warlords fighting
for dominance. Absolutely.
So there does have to be one person controlling it all, but I don't think that she's the Saddam Hussein of Texas.
Oh my God, that's awesome.
So, but you get what I mean, that like all of these settlements that she has that they have to like go around to, I don't think these guys are looking at Jenny going, yep, I'm going to follow you. You know?
That's exactly it. I don't see that either. I just don't see it.
Yeah, and yeah, she's got her goon squad that she travels around with. It's, willing to separate families and shoot people in cold blood, but that really only gets you so far. I mean, if you have 24 guys with you and you go to a community of 100 that are like, no, we don't want to be a part of your thing anymore, you're not gonna win. I mean, I don't see how she has all the power.
And honestly, I'm going to be ageist and sexist here. I don't understand how a young woman who is so bizarre has that kind of power. I just don't get it.
Yeah, because she's not menacing it at all.
She's not alpha.
No.
There's
nothing about her that screams, follow me or I will murder you.
Right. There is a lot about her that screams, where did you put my straitjacket? But I agree, there's nothing about her that screams, follow me.
Oh.
All right. So that is my my Ginny. Although I did write that I hope that Ginny takes Al's camera away.
Me too. That's so funny. So the separation, they even separated
Skidmark and Salazar. Yeah. I know. How evil is that?
So here's the thing. I don't recall how many settlements there were, and I don't even know if we have a definitive number. We had the keys on the map, and then we had some circles. I don't think those added up to the amount of people that they are separating. So I went through and I counted, and if they separate all of our main characters, including people like Tess and Tom's sister, whose name I cannot remember.
Janice.
Janice, thank you. And the 3 main kids from the group, and then they have dozens of other people and kids. If they just separate the main people that are named, that's 18, not including Skidmark. I forgot Skidmark. But that is 18 different places they have to send these people.
And if they're truly separating everybody, according to Morgan's count, it's 40.
Right. So, and I don't understand. I mean, I understand the separation as to keep them from collaborating as a group, but to separate husband and wife and, potentially brother and sister of young children, and poor Skidmark and Salazar, some of the separations, I'm like, I don't think that I would let that happen. I mean,
yeah.
You could get me in a car traveling in the opposite direction as my husband, but we're gonna find our way back. I'm gonna be a runaway until, I'm just gonna keep running away until you either kill me or, put me back with my husband or brother or sister or cat or whatever,
So I will tell you that kind of leads to my question about how are they going to manage next season? Are they going to focus on one person? Are they going to try to tell the story of each cast member?
I think that they're going to do kind of what Walking Dead Prime did for a while, not last season, but the season before, when they bounced between communities. It was, this episode, we're going to go between Hilltop and Alexandria. And then the next episode, we're going to focus just on Oceanside. And then the next episode, we're going to go between the Saviors and Alexandria. I think there's just going to be a whole big sort of circular interaction communication the entire season until all of our group is back together eventually.
I think that's unfortunate. I think it's going to make it harder to watch. I almost wish they would focus just on one person, maybe focus on Dory getting back to June and kind of pulling in people as he's on his journey.
See, and I that's one of the reasons why I'm kind of hopeful for next season is there's so much potential there. They have a potential of bringing this all back with separating us out, getting us out of our comfort zones. And as long as it's not too scattered, I think that this could be a really good storytelling mechanism.
I don't trust it in the hands of the knuckleheads.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure, but we had a lot of new writers this season, and I think that there was a lot of feedback, and I'm hoping that we will learn from our mistakes and move on and do better.
Okay, totally different topic.
Mm-hmm.
So I know some women don't tolerate being pregnant well, but oh my God, Grace is not a good pregnant woman.
Okay, but
and I'm sorry, she does not look malnourished. Give me a break.
No, she doesn't. Not knowing you're pregnant in the zombie apocalypse and having been exposed to radiation. That probably is a really bad combination. Because one, if you don't know you're pregnant, you're not going to take care of yourself like you're pregnant. You're not going to get the hydration and nutrition that you need. And nobody's going to be doing the heavy lifting for you because you're 3 to 4 months pregnant. But then the whole radiation thing, we've talked about Chernobyl on the show before. And the one woman who did get pregnant after Chernobyl, didn't her first baby have problems because it absorbed all of the radiation?
So she was exposed to a huge amount of secondary radiation from being at her husband's bedside. And according to what I read after we watched the series, in fact, she did have a lot of health problems. That baby did have a lot of health problems. I want to say that she lost that baby really young, or maybe she miscarried. I can't remember exactly what the story was, but she attributed it to the radiation exposure.
Yeah, and the fetus gets so much from the mother. I mean, to the point that it leaches calcium from their bones. So I could see that baby absorbing all of the radiation, so yeah, I don't know. Grace was going to come to a terrible end, but maybe now there's just going to be a terrible ending for Grace.
I think we're going to find out that Grace is going to survive. I don't think Grace is going to die, and I think that they're going to write all of her sickness off on just being pregnant.
Yeah. Yep. Agreed. And, when they were asked on Talking Dead, when they decided that, it was after they made her sick.
Right. It was pretty late into the season that they made that decision to take that turn with that character.
Yeah. So they decided to keep Grace. Grace was probably supposed to be a goner. And then they were like, everyone's reacting really well to Grace. I think we should keep her, and wrote her off as pregnant.
All right, I'm going to change subjects on you again. So for me, the most emotionally meaningful moments in this episode were when Wendell and Sarah were separated.
Mm-hmm. Oh.
And I wrote maybe when John and June were separated. Definitely, though, just that little moment with Sarah and Wendell, I really appreciated.
Yep. I said I wasn't going to leave anybody else in my rear view, and I'm not starting with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I got a little tickle in my throat.
Yeah. So, seriously, if they want to follow one character through next season, they can follow Sarah through next season. That would be awesome.
I would be good with that. Yeah. So, back to, is Morgan dead or not? And the whole Madison issue. I'm just going to add...
Oh, please, stop with Madison.
One more thing to lend to it. So, you remember when Wes and Alicia were painting the top of the chapel?
Yes.
The little overhang?
Yes.
Did you see what they painted?
No.
So they painted a tree.
Because I really was much more interested in my phone.
I actually caught this on Talking Dead when they were showing the behind the scenes. So they painted a tree, and over the tree there were the words, "No one's gone until they're gone." And that's where...
Which is what Madison said.
Right. And that's where we left Morgan.
Yeah, so I think that is potentially prophetic of Morgan not being gone. I don't think that's prophetic of Madison coming back.
Okay, I'm just putting that out there.
I know you are. So we'll see which one of us is eating crow like 9 months from now.
And to be completely honest, like I said, I do not think that Kim Dickens has agreed or will agree to come back to the show. So that's the only thing that keeps me from thinking that Madison's coming back. But it would not shock me if that was something that they did to try and resuscitate the show.
So speaking of resuscitation.
Great segue.
I do admit that I was a little shocked that Ginny turned on Morgan and shot him, but they also telegraphed it with the whole Tom storyline. And I just didn't see it coming.
Oh, I didn't either.
Yeah, I mean, they totally telegraphed that if she decides that a leader of a group is going to be in her way, that she's going to just go ahead and get rid of the leader of that group and absorb the rest of the group into her people.
Yeah. And again, honestly, I don't think that that's realistic 100% of the time. I have to think that there is a settlement out there where you murdered our leader and then we all went, yeah, no, like, you're still not going to lead us. Like, we don't follow you. You murdered our leader. No. I have to believe that, like, they had to have either gunned down an entire community somewhere as an example, or I cannot believe that she is our big bad in all of this.
Well, and they are implying that that's what they did with Humbug's Gulch, so we'll see if they address that or not. That's
very true, and she's not afraid to lose some of her own in that.
Although the interesting thing was she decided to go ahead and bargain with Morgan for everybody's lives versus potentially sacrificing a few of her own.
Yeah, and I think that she thinks that there's a lot of people in Morgan's group that if she could get them in line, that they would be very useful to her. And I think that she was willing to bargain today. And I mean, she murdered Morgan, or she may have murdered Morgan. And I don't think she would have any qualms about, now that they're all separated, they're pretty powerless. Like she could take them out one by one if they decided not to fall in line. And it was good planning on her part for separating everyone. I can't believe that 40 people would allow themselves to be separated like that.
I'm right there with you. Again, I need more convincing about Ginny.
So they had water nearby. They had cleaned out Humbug's Gulch. They had water nearby. And did they have 4 or 5 horses left?
I'm going to say that they had 5.
Okay. So 5 horses left. You could either use those horses to go around your surroundings and gather up supplies and materials and things like that, and food and whatever. Or you could use 4 of those horses to do that and have a really good meal to start out your day with.
Nice.
I'm just saying.
No. In Iceland, horse flesh is a delicacy. So there you go.
We only eat things that we name, or we only eat things that we don't name. So, I do love those billboards that have like a chicken and a bunny and then like a goat, a cow, a horse, a dog. And it's like, the only thing that separates, food from pet is you naming them.
Which, by the way, the chicken is going back to Tower Ranch this afternoon, intact. To live out her days as a laying hen, not as a meal.
Again, we eat meat. Like, I'm not a total hypocrite. Like, I don't think I could eat my dogs. And if I had horses, I probably couldn't eat my horses. But these were brand new horses to them. Like, what's what? It's fine. You can eat the one horse. Just don't do it in front of the other horses.
Once again, Black Beauty review hour. It all circles back to the horses.
Even if it becomes the Food Network.
Right. All right. I don't think I have anything else to say about this awful season of Fear the Walking Dead, except thank God it's over.
Thank God it's over. Yep. And we get Walking Dead Prime back tonight.
And I'll post this sometime tonight. So again, apologies that it was so late, you guys. I do want to thank Diane LaSorsa, Nikki Campbell-Keith, and Sandy Ferris for reaching out on the Biters page and commiserating with my horrible, no good, very bad week.
Yes, it's hard to know what to say in such a situation. I mean, you've had a really terrible week, but it's really nice for the fans to be understanding and also reach out and give you their support.
You know, I've got to say, as awful as it feels to be unemployed, and I was telling you before we signed on that I have never, ever I'm almost 50, I've never drawn unemployment. I've been working since my young teens. I feel like it was some sort of cosmic gift from the universe.
Again, sometimes the end is the beginning.
Right. Oh, and you guys, everybody who is listening, I just got some pictures of Moon running with her new herd, and she looks so beautiful and so happy.
Oh.
So that is really, really good.
Yeah. The end is the beginning. And this is the end of us, and in a couple days it'll be the beginning of Walking Dead Prime.
Right. So I'm thinking hopefully we can get a little bit more back on the schedule this week. I've got a busy week ahead. I do have a job interview, so everybody, please send some good juju for me because God knows I need a job. I don't want to draw unemployment. And I'm renewing my ACLS this week. So that's going to be 2 solid days in Anchorage, like working on my advanced resuscitation skills.
Ah.
Yeah, so it's going to be a long week.
Well, I'm pretty open. I managed to catch myself from falling down some concrete stairs the other day, but I actually probably did more damage than if I'd actually just let myself fall. So I've got a massage on Thursday. That's my week.
You know,
I mean, don't get me wrong. I have an 8-hour job to go through Monday through Friday, but other than that,
I will be 5 weeks out from my surgery this week. I think I might see about trying to get some massage happening again. Not in the surgical area, but maybe like back and shoulders and... Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Self-care, people.
Yeah.
Yep. Even in the zombie apocalypse, sometimes you just got to throw a wedding.
But please find a better dress. And use the candy wrapper instead of the cursed rings.
Oh, I would have loved the candy wrappers. That would have been cute. It would have been a great callback.
All right.
All right, everybody. Just remember, take it one dead day
at a time.
Have a good week.
Have a good week, you guys.
Bye.
Bye.